Our 2004 Toyota Solara Sport Package. This is what the end result is going to look like. I actually did most of the tutorial already, but I didn't go over on how I took the actual instrument cluster out from the beginning, so I'm just going to go through that. And the first step is to take out this paneling around the instrument cluster so you can get to actual screws. It's just 3 screws that hold it together. So the first thing you're going to want to do is really just pull this guy over here. This is, thank that car for coming by, for giving light. Oh, there we go. Pull this guy out, and it just literally just snaps right out. I'm gonna pull your AC vent out. And this guy, just put it on the floor for now. And then you're gonna pull right where the keys are. Let me just turn it off. You pull this guy right out. Probably better to get a hold from the inside here. Might get a little couple curses out there. But that's pretty much it. Then at this point, there's 2 little screws up here. Not really screws, they're little pieces of plastic right up here. I just kept them off just because they're annoying. But this is what they look like. And it looks like a screw, a Phillips head, but I couldn't get it off unscrewing. I actually just put a flat head under and pulled the Phillips head out. So what happens is this expands as the screw goes in, which helps it to lock in. Pretty shitty way to do it because it's annoying as fuck to get back in. But yeah, so once you get that out, you pull this cover out here. All right. So you're gonna pull this piece here. There's another piece down here. Right over here. Pull that out. This covering comes right off. He puts that to the side. And then what you have is 3 screws just holding the instrument cluster. So I would turn off the lights at this point. Some people might say unplug your battery, whatever. Who cares? But it's this screw here, which I have loose right now. Dick. You have this screw down here. And then this screw up here. So just 3 screws. This one's loose too. What the fuck am I doing? Yeah. And once you get those 3 screws out, instrument cluster comes right out. There's 2 wiring harnesses in the back, so you unplug that. And pretty much after that, you take it inside and you just work on it. So, again, this is 04 instrument cluster. I'm gonna be going through taking off the pins because these aren't 194s, these are SMDs, so they're a little bit of a pain to get through. But that is pretty much the introduction, and now I'm going to go through actually pulling everything. Point, we have the 04 instrument cluster for Toyota Solara, and to open it up, you have to pop out these little clips they have here. Just pop them out one at a time. And it'll just pull right up. I have all the clips out. This piece comes right off. Next, you want to do the same thing with the black casing you have, the black covering you have. Just start popping the clips off with your finger. Oops, it'll come right off. Right here in this corner. There. Comes right off. Now you have the instrument cluster, the pins. You have this edging that actually pops right off too. You can pull it right off. It's a little difficult the first time. After the first time, then it's a little loose. Yeah, there you go. And now it's going to be the pins. So let me get some tape, because you have to tape off where the pins actually are. That way when you put them back on, everything aligns properly. Okay. Alright, so I have the tape placed here. This is regular masking tape, and what you want to do is push the needle back, but not too much that you actually set it back. You can just tap it. You can go forward. You tap back, there's a point where it just stops moving, and then that's where you want to just mark off where the needle is. Same thing, mile per hour. That here and right here. So now we have everything marked off. We're ready to take the needles off, because for this instrument cluster, it's not your regular 194s. They're actually SMDs, so we have to solder them off. So if these pins, I tried pulling off and they didn't pull off, so I finally found online. First, let's take this guy off. Just pull that guy right off. What you have to actually do is push down and turn the pins counterclockwise, and they'll just come off. So pulling doesn't work. You have to actually turn the pins counterclockwise, and they'll just come off by themselves. I forgot how I did these. These are a little... Oh, yeah, there you go. Thermometer and then the fuel. And then you have your pins off. And again, you do this because you can't get to the bulbs from the back. You have to get to them from the front, because they're soldered on. You can actually see them right there behind the pin. Those are white ones I did already. I just need to replace some blue ones that I actually used LEDs for, which just doesn't give the right lighting. You can take the face off right from up here. And now you have this plastic on the back. You can't take off until you take the clock off, so you kind of gotta wiggle it a little bit, a little force, but don't go crazy. You don't want to break anything. So just pulling from both sides. It'll eventually come off. There you go. Now it's loosening up. You can see this isn't soldered on. This is actually just pushed through, and it'll come on. Pins a little bent, but you can bend those back in place. No biggie. And you just have this little plastic paper here. I'm gonna put everything in a place where you can find it. And then we take this guy off. It's not really held in with anything. You can probably just flip it over. Or not. What I should do is grab a flathead, but I'm too stubborn. I'm just gonna keep poking at it till I get this SOB out. Alright, so I got what's wrong. It's these little clips on the side. It's probably best if I just do the back first, so then it'd be easier to take the clips off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unscrew. Second. I'm going to unscrew these guys right here. All these little screws. Pull that off, and then it'll be easier for me to take the front off from the back. Alright, so here it is unscrewed. Pull the back off. This is the back of the instrument cluster. So as you can see, they're not the 194s. You can't just twist and turn, pull them out, and swap them out. So this is a little bit of a pain because you have to solder. So what you want to do is pull the circuit board out, and to do that, just push from here a little bit. Want to make sure you unhook, clip that a little first. Pull up on this side. Same thing on this side. Just push that clip back. Pull up at the same time. And there you have circuit board with your light bulb. Now, you could always go back now into your car, plug this guy back in from the back. Those are where the wires go. And you can actually play with the lights and see what light is what. So you can see my mistake here is I used LEDs. And what happens with LEDs instead of SMDs, which are the surface mount, is that they shoot out the light instead of spreading it evenly. So you kind of get this like piercing light rather than a nice even spread. So some of them I actually replaced, but I ran out. So I have to replace these guys. I have quite a couple here. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. But here, you'll see this is where the pin, this is the backlight for the pin. And if you notice, if you look at my pins, what I actually did to my pins, this had an orange tint. And what I did was I just sanded it down. That's why you see white along the edges, but then gray back here. And by sanding it down, you just get that transparent, the transparent color. So whatever your SMD color is, that's the actual color. Before with the orange tint, I had blue SEDs, and that gave pink tint. So I just put white SMDs back on, and that just gives a nice white color. So I'm gonna go ahead and solder these guys. Now what you're gonna need is right here, what I have is a soldering tool, a desoldering tool. And how this works is it heats up just like a soldering tool, right? It heats up, you heat where you want to take off, and while you heat up, you squeeze. And then once it's turning into liquid form, you just release and it sucks in the solder. So this is pretty good. Radio Shack, like $10. So I'm gonna work on that. I'm not gonna videotape everything because I don't have a camera stand. But this is how to get everything out and ready. Some tips when soldering, when trying to take off the SMDs, you want to be sure you don't flick any solder into any of the other connections. You can use a desoldering tool on each side, but it's probably not going to get everything off. What you'll end up having to do is play with it a little bit. Once you have it desoldered as much as possible, kind of just touch it and push it a little bit. Maybe from this side is better. Touch it and push it, and just keep pushing it on both sides a couple of seconds. Eventually, one side is going to pop up. You pull off the other side. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. You can find your pins here. The other lights you're going to have to play with, but like this guy is the high beam. This is backlight, just for the whole thing. This is my turn signal. You can see my soldering skills aren't too good. Same thing here. So you have your this is turn signal. This is cruise control, and this is more backlight. These are some of your warning lights. So I'm going to have to get rid of all these LEDs and put SMDs. So once I'm done soldering, I'll start this video back up. I'll connect it. I'll let you see what it looks like. Just one more note before I start soldering. When you look at these SMDs, this guy to focus, you notice that little right, these are PLCC2 3528 SMDs. There's a little nick on the bottom right hand corner that kind of tells you, okay, that's the negative side. Also this symbol right here, that little triangle with the line, that tells you that's negative, and the left side is positive. So just match up, make sure you match up the little nick on the bottom right hand side. My camera's not focusing too good. But wherever that little nick is, there it is on that bottom right hand side. Make sure when you put the bulb, you put it on the same side. That way you know which one's negative and which one's positive. So here I go desoldering and resoldering again. And once I'm done. So I finished soldering the new SMDs. So here's two of them right here. Well, not a great job, but as long as they're in right. And I pretty much went all across the board. Anything that I had changed with a regular LED, I changed to SMD. So everything looks good. So the next step is going to be just to take the circuit board just like this out to the car, and I'm going to plug it in. I'm going to turn the car on. I'm going to test it, make sure every light turns on, and get that recorded too. So take a look at that right now. So in my car now, I have my circuit board there. Turn twice, and voila, there are the changed SMDs. So you just want to make sure everything turns on. Left turn signal, right turn signal, high beam, cruise control, Some of these guys like you have to open the door to turn these on. Check engine, I guess I'll turn back and turn back on. There's all the lights. So everything appears to be working except this guy. Let's take another look. Forget what this guy is. Generally all the lights turn on when you switch one. Some don't. So these two guys, I remember them not turning on before. I forget what they are. But, you know, I can always just take a look, resolder, make sure the connections are good. But as you can see, everything, you know, looks pretty good. Swapped out the blues and the whites, so my whole background on my instrument cluster is going to be blue. And the pins are going to be white, so it looks real dope. You guys take a look as soon as I'm done. It's actually going to match the rest of my car because I did my clocks as well. My information. These guys. My actual stereo has blue black backlights, and I did the weather, whatever, temperature gauges or whatever that crap is called. So yeah, so here we go, blue and white. I'm gonna go back upstairs. I'm gonna screw everything back in. I'm gonna throw it back in my car. You guys can take a look. It's gonna look super dope. You guys will like it. And just one more note: when you're taking the wires off of the back of this, be very careful because those wires are a bitch and they're like just a pain to get out. So take your time taking the wires, the harness off of the back or whatever you want to call it, wires. They're a little bit of a pain to take out. And then I'll head back upstairs, screw everything back together and show you guys. Put everything back together. Before I do that, so this light that didn't turn on, it actually did what it was. That's for the open door. And I actually tested it after I finished recording, and that's exactly what it is. So if you look at the overlay, you can find out what light maps to what. And this one on the right was the low gas. And I don't think that turns on when you switch the headlights on. It only turns on if you actually do have low gas. And I think I remember that happening last time. So hopefully it's not that I soldered it wrong, because it's not the best job, but it looks right. It doesn't look like the connection's not touching. So I'll leave it like that. I have low gas now, so hopefully the light turns on soon and I can see for sure. But as you can see from the video, pretty easy to take this thing apart. Probably the biggest struggle you'll have is soldering if you're not good at soldering, or if you're learning. But this is pretty much just been soldering them off. Learned it just to work on the car, so you can pick that up yourself. Besides that, there's nothing to it. You know, you put this bad boy back together if you want. I guess I'll just you guys can figure it out from taking it apart. Pretty simple though, nothing crazy. I think the trickiest part for me was figuring out how to take the pins out. Once you take the pins out, pretty much everything just snaps apart. And I guess maybe I'll go through putting this back together just so you can see how the clock goes back in. This guy, whatever, that gives you the information. So the easiest way to go about it is just to put this big white piece back right over on top. If you find where all the lights go, it should snap in pretty easy. Snap in from both ends. And that's pretty much it as far as the back is. Once you get this actual back piece, that's where everything screws in. But this is where the clock goes. So what you want to do is throw this little paper down here. It's this way, right? Or is it this way? Oh, whatever way it goes in. Yeah, this is how it goes. So now you get this guy back in. And then you put the actual clock back in. Now this can be a little tricky because I bent up the pins a little bit. Try straightening these guys out a little. And unfortunately, I don't have a camera stand, so this is going to be a little pain pausing and starting. Alright, there we go. So, have everything straightened out. And try to just line it up as best as you could. Once it's in, it's in. You'll just feel it slide right through. But this is probably the most annoying part. Trying to get these pins back in. But not too difficult. See, there I go. Once you get the pins in aligned right, and you just push a little more, and the clock should snap back in. One thing I forgot to make mention is when you take it off, you want to pull these little I guess these little clips here that hold it in. Pull those back, or pull the clock down and pull out. But mine is already in. So there you go. You have the clock in from here. Put the faceplate back on. Oh, the pins. The pins are important. So I'm going to go through putting the pins on, because if you don't get it right, it gets annoying. You want everything to align right. These guys get a little tricky. So what I do is I line it straight up. At 100 hours, I push down, and I go clockwise. Just turn it clockwise, right? Eventually, you're going to get to a point where you can feel the resistance here, as if this was the ending point. And the ending point doesn't really matter. It's really the beginning point. So you kind of push it back almost to 0. And you go backwards, and you'll feel that it stopped here. Here it's going no more. And what you want to do is you want to line it up to where you marked, where you made your mark. So that's almost a little more. Oh, no, a little too much. So I'll just push it back and realign. So once you have it like this, you can start playing with it. Just trying to get it to align exactly where it was. That looks very right there, very accurate. So we have our tachometer. Do the same thing. Turn it back, and you'll feel the resistance at one point right here, where it's kind of like I'm pushing against the resistance. And here it kind of flows freely and just stops here. So now here, the starting point stopped there, and we just want to push this back to the starting point. Just here. Otherwise, your pins are just going to be a little off. Now, I kind of had to learn. Now, these pins are a little more sturdy than some of the other thin ones you see online, so kind of I grab it by the tip, but you're not supposed to grab it by this tip. Here you definitely do the gas pin first. You go clockwise, and you might actually not be at empty. Sometimes it resets, sometimes it doesn't. It just gets stuck to where you last had it. So I'm at a quarter, it'll be here, but for some reason when I took it apart, it was here at the empty. So I can just put it back in empty. And this guy is a tricky one, because this guy you obviously can't spin because the fuel's in the way. So you just put it as far as you can. See right here, that's as far as it's gonna go back. And just turn it from here, and you'll already be at the resistance. From here you can just kind of go back. Right. So everything looks about right. And then if you want, you can go in your car just like this. Sometimes I put it back in just like this. I screw on the back, and I just test it out to make sure the pin's off. I was actually driving like this for a couple weeks before these blue SMDs came in. These are the SMDs that I bought. Because I don't want to put it all back together. So from here, you take this back piece, chop some screws on so these guys are going to fly. Pretty much just screw the back piece on, or you put the front on, or you put the front on first. That way you're covering the face, and you screw on the back piece. Put this cover on. Putting this border on, and again, this just pushes right in. I actually tried plasti dipping this red. Didn't come out too good. But that's probably some cool little mod you can do. Color this little border crazy color, blue, red, whatever you want. But again, I sandpapered these guys. It was like 180 grit or 360 or some low grit. And I sanded that off, got all the tint off, and that's what allows it to just be a plain white. Looks a little, it doesn't look great, just like here, how it looks clear, but when you see the lights on, it looks really cool. Alright, and then the last cover in the front, it just snaps in, as long as you have everything aligned right. You may want to Windex the inside, which I already did. On the outside, who cares? You can Windex anytime and clean it up anytime. And the last piece, put in this guy. And now I have all these little screws to screw in. So I'm not going to bore you with screwing these screws in, but any screw you see here is pretty much you have to take out the wires. And now what I'm going to do is get this guy going so you guys can see what it looks like. See, my open door light is now working. There's all pretty much the other lights. And seatbelt. Close my door. Boom. So pretty much exactly what I wanted. Blue everything. Left a couple of yellows. This guy thought maybe they should stand out. Battery dead or whatever. Check engine light comes on all the time, so you don't want to see a yellow check engine light. This shit is annoying. But pretty much that's how it looks. You know, my whole setup with the red carbon fiber. I think it looks alright. Blue backlights, white. I'll probably change this out. This is more of a cool ice blue versus the dark, almost like a purplish blue that I got going on here. So this guy's probably gonna go with a Navi system or something. But it doesn't look bad. So you know, you put everything back together, same way we took it out, and there you have it. You probably want to take it for a test drive now, just to make sure your speedometer works, and all of that goodness. So. That's that. Enjoy.